Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Nest Pod. Today, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see me and Tammy from My Med Pouch. And today, we're just going to have a chit chat about everything childhood allergy, being a mum of a child with food allergy. And at the end, we'll talk about Tammy's business as well, which is helping a lot of allergy families. And yeah, let's just dive in. Hi, Tammy.
Hi Heidi, how you going?
Good, thanks. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and
Mhm.
your journey and how you came to where you are now?
Yep. I am a mum to Marcus, who's 14 years old, and Catherine, who's 11. And Marcus, well, from a really young age, he was diagnosed with asthma. So that was a journey that we went through. Every time he got sick, he would end up pretty much at the Royal Children's Hospital. Um, and yeah, that was something that we had to learn about and navigate early on. And then it was triggered by viral illnesses, but at the same time he had seasonal allergies, well, still has seasonal allergies and dust mite allergies, so it was triggered by various things. And then his allergy diagnosis didn't come till he was actually 6 years old, which is quite late.
Mm.
And so by that stage, I wasn't really thinking much about allergies when he had his reaction. So then at that point, that was again a new learning experience and learning how to navigate that. And my daughter, Catherine, who is 11, she doesn't have food allergies, but she was intolerant to lactose when she was little. And so that was a journey too. I had to cut out lactose from my diet. And she went to childcare, and I had to be careful about them not giving her any milk that, contained lactose in it. So that was a nerve-wracking experience as well. Luckily now she has outgrown it, and her favorite food is ice cream. And milkshakes. So she's like, oh my goodness, thank goodness I'm no longer intolerant to lactose. I couldn't deal with it, Mum. And she also potentially has a penicillin allergy. So when she was younger, she had some sort of infection. We took her to the doctor. They gave us antibiotics, and she broke out in a rash. And so we're not sure whether it's the virus that triggered it, which I think is a really common thing in allergy.
I can
Um,
talk more about
yes,
that.
yeah, yeah,
We'll get to that. Yeah.
yeah.
That was one of the
Um,
things I used to deal with at the hospital was I was in charge
oh, there you
of
go.
allergy.
Well, I'd be interested to know because basically the doctors said, okay, we're not going to give her any antibiotics because it could be a result of the penicillin. And we do have a family history. So my mum had a similar experience. So the paediatrician has said it is actually quite likely that it is a genuine penicillin allergy. But we haven't gone down the path of testing. So I'd be curious to know what you do and how you actually figure out whether
Yeah.
it is a true penicillin allergy or not.
Mm. Um,
Yeah.
Carry on with your story and then we'll talk about that.
Oh, that's pretty much it, I guess, about, high level our allergy and asthma experiences. And my son Marcus, he's pretty much the one that's the medical kid. He just
Mm.
everything seems to bother him all the time. We were pretty confident that he'd outgrown his asthma, and I was finally relaxing. And it's not triggered by viral illnesses anymore. But this last spring season was just an absolute shocker for us.
Mm.
Um, he was just coughing endlessly for probably like 2 to 3 months. And he's had to go back on a preventer now. So again, we're going to have to go through the process of when we start weaning him off it, and all those sorts of things. So it's
Mm.
just an evolving, constant journey.
It's a lot, yeah. And so what did he actually have an allergic reaction to? Like food
Um,
wise? when he was younger?
Food-wise, yeah. So he has a walnut and pecan allergy. And so it was when he was 6 years old. He had eaten walnuts beforehand. I I don't think like he ate them very often, but he'd definitely eaten them. He used to, so I don't think I was super anxious about, like, I can't fully remember because it's 14 years ago.
Mm,
But I don't fully remember being really anxious about introducing allergens.
mm,
He used to have macarons all the time. It was like one of his favorite things. So obviously they contain almonds. He lived off peanut butter on toast because he was a really fussy child. He'd eaten like various other nuts. Like I said, I remember specifically going to my auntie's house and she gave him like a biscuit that she'd made that had walnuts, and he was fine with it. And then one day we went out to dinner. We were at a Greek restaurant and they brought out a plate of Greek desserts at the end. And we were all eating them, devouring them, going, yum, 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 delicious. Marcus, you should eat some. Come on, have some, delicious. And then we finally got him to eat some because he was fussy. And instantly he just started screaming in the restaurant, saying, my mouth, like it's tingling, like I don't know what's happening. And like we didn't know what to do because it wasn't even something that was on my radar at that point.
mm,
I was like, do I call an ambulance? Like, is he having an allergic reaction? And everyone we were with basically said, you're being crazy. He's not having an allergic reaction. What are you talking about? So we just walked down the road, went to the pharmacy. They gave him Phenergan, and then that was that. It actually, like, it settled, and he was kind of laughing at me afterwards, going, "Mum, you so overreacted." And I was like, "Okay." And then I said to everyone, we're not doing any nuts until I go and see an allergist. And I think everyone thought I was a bit crazy. But I went to the doctor, got a referral for the allergist. It took 6 months to get the appointment,
that's actually
which
not
I'm
that
still,
long.
oh, really? There
Yeah,
you go.
for
There
a
you
public
go.
anyway.
Oh, we went private.
Oh, that's a bit
Did
long.
go private because I'm sure I inquired about going through the Royal Children's Hospital, and the wait time was, honestly, it was probably over 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, but it's
And
worse now. Mm, 'cause
wow. Yeah,
mm,
probably as it's evolving and more children are just getting allergies, then
yeah,
obviously the wait list must just be, yeah, crazy. So we decided to go private, which, like, I'm fortunate that we could make that decision. Um, and I went to the appointment thinking I was going to walk out of there with a confirmation that I was crazy and he didn't have a nut allergy. And his reaction was like, it was really, like, he had, like, it was really quite large. I think it was 20 millimeters, which is that a
that's big.
large?
That's big. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And they were like, yep, definitely. Here are your EpiPens. Here's your plan. And I was just walked out of there completely overwhelmed,
yeah,
going, what just happened? Not what I expected.
yeah.
And since then, it's just my outlook on food is so, so, so different.
Mm,
Um, I grew up with eating nuts. I ate nuts while I was pregnant. I had nuts in the house. At work, I used to have like a container of mixed nuts that I would snack on like every single day. Um, and now I can't, like, I actually can't bring myself to eat a walnut myself.
mm,
Then I think, well, what if we kiss him? Or like, what if I have it on my hands and I accidentally touch him? Um, and I've now, like, so my daughter doesn't have a nut allergy as far as I'm aware of, and she eats pretty much every nut that there is, but I haven't given her walnuts or pecans either,
mm.
which I know is a bad thing. I
But
know
no,
I need to
there's
give
no
them to
such,
her.
yeah, there's no such thing as bad. You're doing what your gut instincts like. I know the guidelines say this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, they're guides and they're not everyone's real life. So
Yeah.
if you've got a nut that could potentially seriously harm one of your children, it's completely
Yeah.
plausible why you don't want to give it to your other child. And,
Yeah.
yes, she has a slightly more increased chance of having a nut allergy than another child who doesn't have a sibling, but she's more likely wouldn't have an allergy. There's a slight increased risk. Like going back to the message earlier that you sent about cousins,
Yeah.
it's not really. It's almost as if they're not even family when it's cousins. When it comes to allergy,
Yeah. Isn't that
so
crazy?
there's not really a link. It's just unfortunate. Even with siblings,
Coincidence.
there's like between a 1 to 4, you know, 1 to 4 times more likely. Like it's all such a grey area, and this is the trouble with allergy. There is no reasoning why someone is allergic. There's no
Mm,
reasoning why sometimes they have something and then the next time they react. Like we know about sensitization and things, but this is the trouble with allergy. There's no cure. There's no
mm,
one way to fix it, and there's no one way to
mm.
diagnose it. And this is why parents often feel so like, what can I do? And
Overwhelmed.
it's like, in reality, not a lot,
Yeah.
because OIT is not a cure anyway. It can help a lot of children if caught early enough, but it's just the allergy itself is such a grey area as a whole.
Mm.
What I'll say about walnut is walnut and wheat are unstable allergens. So what
Okay.
what what I mean by that is, just for future reference,
Mm-hmm.
when he's tested, we never test the children at the hospital I worked at with walnut allergen, like the little pipette. We always
Okay.
tested them with mashed up actual walnut,
Oh,
because
wow.
the allergen that we got, so these allergen bottles, they come from Europe. They don't make them in Australia. So that's
Okay.
why the fish ones, and there's no Australian fish in them because they're all European. So they come
Mm.
from, or they come from America, so either America or Spanish. And the walnut just would often give us a negative result.
Oh.
And then we would send the children for walnut food challenge, and they would have anaphylaxis like every time. So I saw this with my own eyes. I was the person doing the skin testing, doing the food challenges, and then so we switched to fresh walnut, and it was completely different. So that doesn't mean to say that your child would never react to the pipette allergen, but it's just in a lot of children it gave us a false negative.
Oh,
And then
that's disappointing because
yeah.
our last review, and I actually, so if relatives hear this, they won't know, because I actually didn't want to tell anyone because I didn't want anyone to get a false sense of security. But we went and had a high school review recently, and he actually didn't react
Well, if he
to the
reacted,
walnut.
so when he initially had his skin test, I'm assuming it was
Yeah.
a similar type of allergen in the bottle,
Yes, it
and he
was
did
the
and he
exact
did
same one.
react.
Yes.
Right. So that would give me more confidence that he's one of the children that what I just said is maybe not as relevant for, because
Okay.
it was a lot and it was common, but it wasn't every child. So if
Okay.
he's reacted to 20 mil, that's a big
Yeah.
reaction,
It's
and
huge.
that's come down, then
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily need to be disappointing. That could be accurate. As I
Okay.
said,
Yeah,
there's
because I was
never just
extremely
one.
excited.
Yeah, there's never just one rule. So if they've asked you to reintroduce it, because have they asked you to reintroduce it?
No. So what they did was they did a second skin prick test and he did react, but it was tiny. Like I can't even remember. I think like point 0.4 or
Mm-hmm.
something very, very, very minor. And they did suggest that he come in for a food challenge.
Yeah.
But Marcus, because I've had such anxiety over the walnut issue and the walnut allergy, and I've tried really hard to get him to understand that he really can't eat it, and he's just too anxious to do it.
Mm.
And so the allergist said, give it a year, come back, we repeat the test, and then we see how he feels about doing a challenge then.
Yeah.
So kind of just left it for now. But definitely hoping that at some point we can do a challenge and see how he goes.
If you if you want to at that next test, you could
Mm-hmm.
take some walnuts in with you and
Mm.
test that. And then if that's negative, parents used to do that all the time. It's
Okay.
easy. You mash them up in a little pot with some water, and
Yeah.
they'll do it there. Like it's no work
Yeah.
for them because we used to
Okay.
do it all the time. We used to do it with different types of fish. We get parents to bring in all these little tiny little bits of raw fish, and yeah. So take just even one walnut with you, and just
Yeah.
say like I'd like to do fresh as well. You can request that. It's fine, and
Yeah.
see
Okay.
see what that is. But chances are he has grown out of it. Remember, lots of children do, and if he had the big anyway. We're running out
Yeah.
of time, so I want to carry on
Sorry, I've
with the
taken you down a
penicillin. No,
different
no,
track.
no, because people will. It's relevant for everyone. The penicillin thing. 85%
Yes.
of children diagnosed with a penicillin allergy don't have it.
Okay.
So it's generally a female thing as well, and probably a string of
Okay.
women in the family that have been diagnosed with penicillin allergy. It was just labelled because it was the post-viral rash would come just
Yeah.
as the penicillin was given because you were over normally the big hump of the virus because you take them to the doctors when they're the sickest. And so my job in the hospital was to delabel people. So we would get children coming in with like broken arms or nail bed repair or whatever, anything that wasn't respiratory, and they would flag up to me that they were in hospital, and I would run down to the ward and give them some penicillin
Oh
and
wow.
basically do like a penicillin challenge.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen one anaphylaxis in these children that were labelled as a penicillin allergy because they weren't allergic.
Okay.
Very, very good chance. And what you need is a GP that's just going to go, do you know what? Let's just give it. Because
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if where you are that the penicillin challenges are very common, or if they do them, you might have to pay for it. But the chances are she's not allergic. I'm not saying she's
Yeah.
not allergic, but the chances are she's
Mm.
not allergic. So
Okay. So
unfortunately,
something
a
to
lot of us were labelled. I was labelled, my mum was labelled, my sister labelled, my nan was
there you
labelled.
go.
And luckily, I had a GP that when I got mastitis, when I had my kids, the GP
Yeah.
said, "Oh, do you know what? It's not actually that common. Let's just try it." And I didn't. I wasn't doing anything to do with penicillin allergy at the time, so I just took it and I was absolutely fine. So obviously, I'm not saying she's absolutely fine, but it's a big percentage of children
Yeah.
that are not actually allergic. And it's a good drug to be able to have. You don't want
Yeah.
to have to avoid it. So
No. No.
mm,
We've been lucky that she hasn't really needed antibiotics, touch wood, since.
yeah.
She's not the sick, but I'm going to jinx myself now. She's not the sickly child in the family. That's my son. But yeah, we'll have
Also,
to
though,
probably test it at some point.
yeah, not that you ever want to think about this kind of thing, but if should there be an accident and you're not there, the ambulance or often will just pump antibiotics into a person at a scene if they need to, and it's that kind of thing that when maybe you're not fully in control of the situation. Um,
Yeah.
so and again, the chances are she would be fine if they did that, if she had a
Yeah.
wound or something. But it just would be good to know because technically, they kept labeling all these people with penicillin allergies, but there was no bracelets given out or alert cards or anything. So,
Mm.
which ideally they should have, because penicillin, you don't give someone walnuts when they've been in a car accident,
No.
but you do give people antibiotics. So really,
Mm.
that also wasn't done for most people. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's interesting that you say that, because it's one of those ones where I've always thought, well, I don't need to worry about that because I can control if she takes antibiotics or not. I've never thought of it from that perspective. So,
it's
yeah.
unlikely, but it's just something to bear in mind. That's what, with being a nurse, we're always catastrophic. Everything's has to be like worst case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so and do you live day to day with kind of an anxiety about food allergy in particular, or do you manage to kind of keep yeah, how does it make you feel in general?
No, I do live day to day with food anxiety. However, it doesn't stop us from going out. Like, we eat out all the time. I know there are parents who'd have even more anxiety than I do because they've got, like, dairy allergies and sesame allergies, and egg allergies, which, the risk of cross-contamination is even greater with those sorts of foods. But I am the sort of person that goes to a restaurant and I'll ask questions and I'll be like, he's anaphylactic, are you sure there is nothing in there? Like I do ask questions, even if it's something that's obviously wouldn't have nuts in it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you just don't know. Like we traveled to Greece where they have walnuts in absolutely everything. And I can speak the language, which is why I felt more comfortable in being able to also communicate there. But, for instance, there was once where we would order a dip that he would normally eat. And when I told them walnut allergy, they said, oh, actually, we've got ground walnuts in that dip.
Oh,
And so even if you think there's no chance that a food will have something in it, like a walnut in it, I just ask. And
yeah.
so, yeah, but yeah, I guess it doesn't stop us from eating out. And even ice cream shops, like he's the sort of kid that because he developed his allergy at 6 years old as well, he had been used to eating whatever he wanted. It wasn't
Mm.
something that from a young age he was like, oh, I miss out on certain things. And so, going to an ice cream shop, he still wants to get ice cream. So I just say, look, stick to vanilla. We get a fresh scoop.
Yeah.
We tell them you've got a nut allergy and we just, do it that way. So,
Yeah, I feel like ice cream shops are a bit better. They're a bit clued up because ice cream can just be, especially places like Messina and that. I know they have I mean, we see Messina mistakes in the allergy team a lot,
mm,
but that's because they have such bizarre flavors. And
yeah,
but I feel like they're becoming a bit more clued up in that because they have such bizarre flavors, they have to be
okay.
more vigilant in what they're giving.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, before we run out of time, tell us about My Med Pouch.
Yeah, so my med pouch, I uh, decided, so I took some time off work um, because I was really burnt out after COVID and a tired lawyer that couldn't manage my time between family and work. And I always wanted to like do something on my own, run my own business. And my parents have always run their own business, and it was kind of like something that I'd always aspired to do, but didn't really know like what I wanted to do. And then I had another idea and I was like, no, I'm not that keen on that. And then I did a short course and they were like, well, think about the things you're passionate about.
Mm.
Um, and then I wrote a list of the things I'm passionate about. And then somehow it just was like, well, I've got this medical bag that I carry everywhere. I really don't like it. Take it with me everywhere. It's really quite ugly. It's not insulated properly. Children can't wear it like in a way that's functional. It's quite clinical. Like I want to make it a little bit fun for kids who um, have medical conditions. It's not just allergies. I've come to realize that there are so many children out there living with so many medical conditions,
Hmm.
which is quite sad.
Diabetes and all sorts of,
Oh,
yeah.
so many things, epilepsy, Down syndrome, like just so many conditions. And I
Mm.
reckon parents are like amazing at having to, do what they do and manage it all. And so that's how it came about. So it's an insulated medical bag and it's designed for carrying your medications while on the go and if you're traveling. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it and really like loving learning and as we were talking beforehand, learning about all the things business, which I really like
Hmm.
that side of things as well.
Never ending, isn't it?
Um,
Never ending. And then just as you
it's
learn,
never
the
ending.
algorithm changes and
Yeah, exactly. I mean, before this, I was not a social media person. I did not even know how to post on social media. So the first time I did a post, I think I was like playing around, like, how do I do this? What am I doing? And now it's like, okay, I'm learning.
and you have to be on social media. When your
You
audience
do.
is parents, you have to be on
Exactly.
social media.
Yeah.
And okay, where can people find you, or if they have questions, where can they go? Have you got a website and socials?
Yeah. Yeah. So the website is mymedpouch.com and socials are at mymedpouch, mostly on Instagram. but we've got TikTok and Facebook as well. You could always go on to the website and send through a message as well if you want, and I'll get that in my emails.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Well, before we get completely cut off, I'm going to say goodbye and thank you so we don't get abruptly ended. But thank you so much for telling us your story. It's really important for me to talk to allergy families and get your perspective, because I've obviously worked with people